We can start there.
Yeah, thank you, Jeff. Excited to be here. Thanks for having me. As you said, I'm Kaloh. I'm the founder of Indexy, which is a new platform. It's been around for 3 months and a bit more. Which the focus is to create to navigate crypto, to bring some structure to crypto markets with smart indexes, and I also write Kaloh's newsletter. I think that's also another reason why some people know me. I've been writing that newsletter, which is about culture and blockchain and a bit of technology and markets for 4 years now, since 2021. Yeah, very excited to be here and be on the other side. I also have a podcast, so being as a guest is refreshing. Yeah.
Absolutely. No, I appreciate it. And I guess going back to before Indexy, talking a little bit about like what inspired you to start that newsletter.
That's a great question. So I discovered this platform Substack. So I feel like it's a few reasons, right? So when I discovered Substack, I think it was 6 years ago. I thought it was a very interesting product, and I wanted to use it, right? But I didn't have a topic. I didn't have a niche to write about. I thought about creating something in the past, but nothing really clicked. So I was just reading newsletters. And when I joined Web3 in 2021 more seriously, because I've been following Bitcoin and Ethereum and crypto for a while, I think from 2014, 2015, but I didn't really make any big investments, unfortunately. But 2021, I wanted to, spend more time in the space, in crypto and Web3, understand smart contracts, coins, NFTs. And it felt like there wasn't good sources of information. There weren't many podcasts, there weren't many publications, there weren't magazines. There were a lot of technical content. If you were a developer, you could jump into the Ethereum website, and it was really interesting, but not more, like conversational, more like day to day, what's happening, who is building, who is creating stuff. So I wanted to learn, and creating a newsletter was a good way to kind of get started sharing it. And once you start to get an audience and people subscribing, you get excited, right? So it became a flywheel, and yeah, it's something that's kind of in my routine these days.
Yeah, of course. So are you familiar with Paragraph?
Yeah. I use Paragraph too. I really love that product. I know I have been in chat with some of the team for a while. Reed, Colin Armstrong is the founder, and I think it's a very neat product. And they are also doing it right. How they integrate with different products, right? They now have a good connectivity to Substack. So if you're a Substack writer, your articles can get published on Paragraph as well. Are you using it, Jeff?
I haven't yet, but it's funny. I really need to. And I think a lot of what you're covering is what I would like to do as well. So that's really the inspiration behind the podcast, is just bringing founders to light, showcasing what they're building, making sure they're having the opportunity to, get their message out there, but also just be informative. I think
Yeah.
every time I have an episode, and I think you could probably relate, whenever you have a guest on, excuse me, you're getting something out of it. I mean, you're
Yeah.
learning something. You see a new product that can be a vital part of your, routine as a Web3 native. Like, there's so many different opportunities that you get by having these platforms, but most importantly, to learn. And I think
Yeah.
if we're able to write, I'm not the best writer, I'm not the
Mhm.
strongest writer, but I would be happy to go check out Substack and Paragraph and start contributing. It's just how many hours in a day that you have.
Yeah, exactly. That's kind of, you have to prioritize well. That's why, for example, right now my podcast is on standby. I think for 3 months was the last time I published an episode. But I agree with you. Like, what I loved about doing a podcast is that I had an excuse to reach out to people and have conversations for 1 hour, right? And once you develop, a stream of episodes, you have a log, you have 10, 15 episodes, they see you're putting the time, you build a reputation. 80, in my case, 80, 90% of the people said yes. So that's, imagine you can reach out to a lot of people, and invite them on and come and have nice chats for an hour. It's a great way to connect, especially in Web3, where everything is remote, right? So everybody's somewhere in the world, and you chat maybe with people, you connect, but you don't really have that chance, to be in deep conversation. So for me, that was already a clear value add for me, just to meet all these people. I had like 50 guests, so a very interesting conversations, and I'm sure I think you feel the same way, right? I saw the list of guests, and you have some pretty incredible founders.
Yeah, no, and it's this is very refreshing as well on my end, because everything you're saying is resonating. When I reach out to you, even, I mean, people are super receptive, and I think want to connect. So Web3, as you mentioned, is very remote. It's very anon, and I think it's important as founders, as creators, as individuals that are trying to break into the space in whatever capacity, showing your face, giving context of like who you are as a person, I think allows you to thrive in a place where, what we're seeing in Web3 right now is this, it's this conflict of like, okay, is this going to evolve into something that's adopted universally? And
Yeah,
I think one of the hindrances right now is the fact that it is synonymous with crime or money laundering, and it's shady characters that are involved. So I think if you not saying everyone has to, I think your privacy is incredibly important, but I think simultaneously, if you're willing to take a step into the arena and be doxxed, you might as well go all in and be able to give more context of who you are and your background, etc.
definitely. Yeah, definitely. And it brings validation, and yeah, it builds trust, right? And that doesn't mean you have to be showing your face all the time or become an influencer and share your life, right? But every now and then, show who you are. That's even like in traditional, Web2, or companies in general. It could be consumer, or it could be big businesses and corporate. That happens, right? These executives or these founders, they are out there showing their face and showing who they are. It's part of what makes their companies successful, and people trust and enjoy and connect with the creator. So I think it's definitely very important, yeah, to do that.
And the thing that's really fascinating on the other side of the coin is the fact that people have been able to thrive and be successful without even ever having to reveal that. And for those that are able to accomplish that, tip of the hat, like that's amazing. And, more power to you. I
Yeah.
think for me though, like it was just, I like to talk too much. And my wife was actually the one that was like, you got to start a podcast. You're on the phone for hours with these people. Like you might as well put it out for everyone else, because I'm tired of listening to it in our little apartment. So
Yeah.
here we are, man. But just to get back on track, just I played with Indexy a little bit. I know it's relatively new. I'm really excited to learn more about what you've got going on there and what the vision is, and
Mm.
let's just dive in.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's relatively new. I started working on it in January. I had the idea, and I always, I'm a computer scientist. I work in the tech industry for close to 10 years, and I was a developer and data scientist. So I had kind of a group of skills that I was good at, but I was not like a full stack developer. I was very, very strong with data and analytics, but I couldn't build by myself a full stack product. So in January and late last year, I started to play a lot with AI, and I noticed like of my weak skills, let's say like front end and design, I could get very good at with AI tools, right? So then I started to have this idea of what is a problem I have right now that I could probably build by myself now that these technologies that are out there. And my newsletter, my podcast, my content, it has been always been about markets and trying to find trends, not from a you know trader, more from a long-term perspective, and try to understand what was happening. And at the same time, I've been always into metrics and benchmarking and crypto has been growing really fast, and there are so many segments, right? There is AI, but AI has now agents that are also data platforms. There is gaming, there is social, so many applications. So I just lose control. I couldn't keep up with everything. And the idea of an index that helps you monitor specific segments, that's what I needed, right? Because I could wake up and see my index table and see which segments are doing well, which are not. Maybe if there are new projects, new apps. I wanted something like a control center, right? To understand what was happening across chains. And that's how it started, really, like trying to solve a problem I had, to produce content and to be on top of crypto markets without having to, check my wallet or check Texas or check, tech screener, which I don't think it's a great, those are great tools, but aren't built for this. And that's the original story. I wanted the tool to help me produce better content and to keep track of the markets. And from there, it evolved into what could be the first prototype, right? What could be the first version of this idea I have of indexes? So, if you look, you can check my history, my Farcaster and X post. The first prototype was a table with 7 indexes that I built, kind of different areas where I felt that I have some edge, like NFTs, art, social, a bit of AI, some meme coins. And from there, people were looking at it and they liked the analytics. So I built the possibility for everybody to create their own indexes, and it's multi-chain. I put a lot of effort into having clean analytics, something that people can understand, but still powerful enough for the power users, and just improve the flow of creating an index with very strong analytics. And right now, so 3 months from there, we have over 250 indexes. There are, I think, close to 2,000. I think we're getting to 2,000 active monthly active users. And what's exciting is that people are creating these indexes. They are updating them, right, rebalancing and sharing their strategies. And there are conversations now. If you look at Farcaster X, where people that are very deep into blockchain and investing are discussing strategies, right? And they are saying, okay, I think your index it's excellent, but maybe you should adapt the weights this way or that way. So that's something that's very exciting, and that's where we are today. Um, I have to say that last week we launched which is the official token, and that was also another catalyst, because we during this time there were a couple of catalysts where more people are trying the product. One was the Forecaster mini app, and now the token. And yeah, we've been getting more exposure. People see the token doing well, and in Dex Screener and different other interfaces, and they jump into Indexy to explore. And that's kind of our target users, right? The kind of person that's checking the screener, checking all these interfaces. They probably are interested in tracking markets, tracking indexes, building their own. So yeah, that's where we are today, Jeff.
Got it. So going back, let's kind of roll it back where you were mentioning that you were a computer science major. That was your expertise. You had back end experience of coding. Um, did you have any financial experience, any training, any courses, anything at all before starting Indexy?
So let's see. In my degree, so I studied computer science. I had some fundamental courses there, but I also during my master's. So it was a dual degree where it was very technical, data science and entrepreneurship. So half of the courses, it was a very particular master's, to be honest, but half was about entrepreneurship. So how to create businesses, and how to build companies. And it could be also for people that some of my colleagues, they went to work at companies and they are what they call intrapreneurs, right? So they are entrepreneurs inside corporations. So I feel like that background was great for me at this point in my life, right? When I'm trying to grow Indexy. So it's the financial knowledge that I need to get a company rolling. And in terms of crypto and data science, it's kind of used for many things, but big part of it is business analysis. So I work in Germany in a company. My last job before I jumped into Web3 fully was as a data scientist and business analyst for software company that the product we were building was basically how to improve companies' processes with data, right? So we were connecting to ERPs, to SAP systems, and my job was to find inefficiencies in companies' processes. Could be supply chain, could be banking. There were many different areas, and I learned a lot in terms of how to improve, how to find inefficiencies in companies' bottom lines. And I think I applied that to in my content as well, and in indexy, of course, to the crypto market. So yeah, I do have some experience when it comes to finance.
Okay, yeah, and this wasn't like a gotcha question of like, oh, do you even know? It's not.
No, no, I
It's
know.
not like that at all. It's more so. It's just. It's more curiosity, and then also it shows anyone that feels like they have barriers to entry in anything that they want to do. It's just you can do it. I
Yeah,
know that
yeah,
sounds so cliche, but it's like you have
yeah.
no, you didn't have a formal experience in trading, at like a
No, it
financial
was.
institution. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
But that didn't
yeah.
deter you from starting something like Indexy. And I think
Yeah,
that's what's so cool about Web3.
yeah, I did trade, but I'm not. I don't consider myself a trader. I do collect art and NFTs, and I do a lot of analysis towards that. But yeah, definitely, I'm not a formal investor or a trader, day trader. No, no, by any means. And I don't think I have tried. I am. I wouldn't say I'm bad, but I'm also not amazing, right? At day trading, yeah.
Anyone that tells you that they're good at trading, there's polars there. It's either you are amazing at trading and you
Yeah.
actually know what you're doing, or you're just lying. And
And
usually the people that say that they're good at trading that I've come across are not good at trading.
yeah, yeah,
You know,
it's a lot of luck involved. I think in this space, a lot of information that you get access to. What about you, Jeff? Are you trading? Are you active in the trenches, as they
no,
say?
no, no, no. Of course not. I learned pretty quickly once the Solana meme coin saga occurred. I learned very quickly that you're not going to be able to time these markets. I mean, people have a difficult time doing it in the traditional
Yeah,
space, trying to time a market, or you have to either be an insider or launch the token yourself. And I stand by that. I'm happy to debate anyone on it. But I just don't think realistically the odds are in your favor when you're trying to play that game. Kaloh, I came from I worked at Morgan Stanley, and that
mm,
was my experience of like finding fascination with Web3. Part of it, at least, is just seeing that there were markets that were open source, like it was decentralized. You
yeah,
could create your own liquidity out of thin air, which is nuts. But I also think the consequences of that are still being ironed out right now. But
yeah,
so no, I'm curious because when I came across Indexy, I was like, oh, this is really cool. This is unique in that, you're able to build your own indexes. You're able to essentially like do what is gate kept in the traditional markets. There must be some attachment to traditional finance here. And I find it really impressive and also encouraging that like you don't like you were a data analyst, you have a computer science background, and you were able to just figure that part that you didn't understand out on your own.
yeah. To be honest, I've been studying indexes. I actually wrote a bit about the Dow Jones and the story behind it. When it was created, I think it was in the late, so early 1920s. I think it was published, the first one, I think it was in the Washington Post. But the creators were journalists and statisticians that wanted to write about companies, but they didn't have facts to write clearly. right? So they developed their first index, Dow Jones. They were Albert Dow, I believe, and Jones, I forgot the name. So they combined themselves, and they had now facts to write properly about companies. That's how it started. Um, so I feel like indexes, what I like, and coming back to day trading, and that's very complicated to actually do it properly. There are many factors. What we have seen with crypto is that the real winners are the long-term investors, right? Those that take the time, are patient, take the time to research, and they understand what's happening, and they place long-term bets. And I feel like that's the kind of users that we are attracting. And I feel like the end indexes, once we have, I don't know, 1, 2, 3 years of time, will show that, right? That there are multiples that are overperforming, and those are the ones with long-term projects, right? And I'm very curious on meme coins, what will happen with those indexes. We'll see. It's exciting, but yeah, it's definitely a great tool, indexes. And I was very curious that journalists were the ones that created the first
That's a fun
popular.
fact.
Yeah.
No, that's really cool. And I think going into the like meme coin sector, if you want to call it that, and building indexes around it, I think, look, like I'm not trying to say that meme coins provide zero value. That would be incredibly ignorant.
They're
I
fun.
think
They're
they're
fun.
no, but like they also hold like real value, which is so crazy to say, but like, as stupid as it sounds, but Fartcoin is holding value. Brett is a token that like can hold that. So so like my point, Doge is a top 20
Yeah.
token in the world. So my point is like when I say it's you can't trade meme coins, it's the ones that pop up on Pump Fund that last for 5 minutes and get rug pulled. If you're trying to play
Yeah.
that game in the trenches,
Yeah.
good luck, and I wish you the best. But I mean, if there are these tokens that have real like community, that have real marketing abilities and have a good team behind it, I of course they can succeed. And I think looking at those indexes, if they are proportionately finding those long-term value meme coins that have, a good roadmap and runway, then
Yeah.
yeah, there's no reason why they can't succeed. I don't want to say that.
And I think that for example, I couldn't be the founder of a meme coin because I don't have that set of abilities, right? I think you need very very clear abilities to make a meme coin and make and build a community that lasts. I think that's really complex, and there are probably a set of skills, social skills, social media skills, and way more. I'm sure that they have analyzed and studied this well, and they know some of these people know like the playbook to make it work. But yeah, I agree that there are some of those that will be around for a while, right? Doge, I mean, in Shiba Inu
Yeah.
and Degen is a
DGen. That's
yeah,
a meme
Degen.
coin.
Yeah, yeah.
Exactly. And they're finding utility. I had Yasik on a while ago, but
Mm,
one of the things that was so impressive with his project is the fact that he started a meme first and then brought utility on after,
yeah,
which is like very difficult to do. And
yeah,
then also things like Brett, I was living in Brazil for a couple of months,
yeah.
and I was running on Ipanema, and one of the kiosks, like one of the little bars, had a bunch of Brett umbrellas. And I'm like, dude, this is great. Like I thought Brett was just such a, niche thing, but the fact that they brought it to something like that gives
Mm,
me an indication of one, like I'm bullish on Web3 in general, but then two, you can't write off meme coins entirely.
yeah,
And then the
no,
other thought that I had on based on what you were saying is, if I started a company and I'm scaling and I'm looking for someone to lead my marketing, I am immediately
mm,
looking for someone that launched a meme coin successfully. Like that is
yeah.
the type of person that I would want running my operations on a marketing front, because they know how to build and maintain a community, which is incredibly difficult today considering the attention span that we all have is
Yeah,
similar to a goldfish. Like
yeah,
people forget immediately there's it's an attention economy, and if you're holding that, you're truly winning.
yeah. No, definitely, and you need to understand the the slang, the right words, and you need to pay attention to what's happening to probably connect that to your product in terms of features, but also how you communicate these features to the public, right? And maybe think long term, maybe 3 6 months from now, what will happen, right? And try to bring that to the communication of what you're building. So definitely very, very challenging. And I think that, yeah, I think the companies that are doing it well, they definitely have somebody that either launch a meme coin or it's very active in that space. I don't know if you saw the whole poly market intern from Goldie, the poly
Goldie
market.
talks.
Yeah, it was very, very, very fun, and that was crazy, crazy good. I think he did a great job there, and keep people interested, right? Keep people interested was fun. But yeah, I agree. I agree. That's you definitely need somebody that understands the culture for proper marketing. Yep.
Absolutely. So that's actually a nice segue of talking about Indexy and what the team shape looks like. Is it just you right now? Do you plan on bringing on others? What's
Yeah.
the roadmap there?
So currently, so last week, I got the first support engineer. So he's gonna be working with me on improving index in general, whatever is needed. We have I worked with him in the past. So I before Indexy, I worked on a digital gallery called Blind Gallery, which was a project launched on Tesos. We launched six galleries, generative art, coded art. We work with over 80 artists, and I think we crossed 1,000 collectors. This was 2022, 2023, and he was the one building the smart contracts, right? So he has a lot of experience, and yeah, very excited to have him on the team. And also on the marketing front, there are a couple of things developing. I also work with a now good friend of mine that supported during that time. He's also joining to shape a bit the vision and what can we do, because this product is very different from what we did back then with this digital gallery. But yeah, those are the two people that joined the team recently. I'll be working with them. So they started. We're recording Tuesday. They started last Friday, and at the moment, I want to. I think we have the right resources for the stage we are. And it really depends on, there are many paths we can take, and there are many different kinds of things we could do, but it all depends on the users, right? What kind of feedback are we getting, and try to, which is challenging to separate, to break the noise, right? Keep the noise away and understand the power users, what are they really doing and what they want to do next, right? Like what's try to hear from those users and not from everybody that maybe wants something different. It's the place
Can we
of.
talk about this a little bit more? I really like where you're heading with this conversation and
Hmm.
separating the noise. What would some of that noise be for a founder when
Hmm.
you have your product, it's launched, you're looking for power users, you're looking for critical feedback. What are some of the things that you're receiving that may be in good taste? It may be, coming from a good place, but it's just like unfortunately, not to be a dick, but like a waste of time. Like
Yeah,
what are the things that they're reaching out with that you're just like, please stop hitting me with this. I need real context and like real
yeah.
feedback.
It's hard because I think I've been lucky that 95% of the feedback has been on point, or at least requires attention. I just do follow ups, like, okay, tell me your user, and I check on Indexy what this person has done, right? And many, maybe more than 60% haven't necessarily created an index or tracked an index, even though they are checking the analytics, But I want to hear from the people creating or tracking, and I don't think I have outrageous feedback, like something that's, what is this? It doesn't make sense. But the way how they frame it sometimes is more to pump the coin, like make this crazy announcement, and man, you need to push on the announcements, and I'm look like the announce. It's a product, it's a product. Like the announcement will come once we have these features. And I'm in a very, I think, a very exciting spot that whenever we launch something, that's when we talk about it. Or maybe we can, maybe it's coming in 2 weeks. That's fine. But it's very clear. I don't want to be hyping, creating fake hype. I don't think that's the right approach. So one example, creating an AI agent, and then a chat agent on X. And, if you think about it, I follow with some questions, and the way they were framing it, I don't think was the right way. But if you think about it as an agent that thinks in indexes terms and thinks about fragments and thinks about comparing chains and comparing protocols and comparing volumes and finding insights that are very unique, then I think that's special, right? But creating another AXPT, that already is doing what they wanted, probably not, right? But if we find a way to connect this with the what we're building, yes, definitely agents are very special, right? If done right. And I feel like more than agents is the data that we have, the data that we are is very unique that we're creating, finding a way to extract more meaningful insights from these indexes that people are creating, and showcasing that it could be a chat agent or something else. That's where it gets interesting, right?
I think 100%. And what's so interesting, because it brings me back and like to what I'm trying to do with Startup Radar. I don't know when this is gonna. Hopefully soon we can air this one, but I'm building an app, and the app is the reason why I'm bringing this up is because I'm building a platform exactly for what you're describing as your pain points, right?
Mm.
So basically, like how this started, podcast channel, and I was trying to provide an ecosystem for founders like yourself that could be able to say, like for you, Kaloh, to be like, I just launched Indexy, throw it in the cast about it, and then tag Startup Radar's channel so that people can see it and they give you feedback, and then there's like value in that.
Yeah.
So I recognized that channels have this, because I'm new. I've been on Farcaster for 2 months now. And, when I got on here, I'm like, oh, this is like Reddit. This is great. Like, this can provide a lot of value for founders. Like, why not start this channel? I recognize that people's involvement or interaction with channels is very particular. And especially if you're a new one, it's hard to break that bubble. So then the second thought became, well, let's just build an app, right? Like, why not have a place for you to have your own profile, have a discussion board, and then reward end users that are power users to then give you that feedback, that's signal and not noise. Yeah. So we're in the process of developing this. You can tip them through it as a founder. You can so the equivalent of like karma points. Yep. So you would have blips is what we're calling it, like a blip on a radar. Yeah. And so if I'm an end user and I'm interacting with Indexy and I provide you real value that you're looking for, you would be able to either have the option to tip them out automatically or additionally give them points like karma points. Yeah. But it would hold a lot more weight coming from a founder than an other user upvoting their comment. So that's one thing where I'm like, oh my gosh, you're answering the point. Like, that's what I'm trying to build for you is a place that you would immediately get those power users, right? And it would be curated, very selective. Like, I'm not just going to onboard a bunch of farmers and bots that are going to try and game right away, right? Yeah. So it'll be hand selected just to build the culture out. But anyway, not enough about me. But one of the things that you were mentioning that I thought was really interesting is figuring out like the complexity of having a token affiliated with a product, right? So with Indexy launching their token, it then shifts the mindset of your end user. And it's not a bad thing. It's just the difficulty of having to do both, whether it's because if you're getting this token because you're trying to raise funds for the project, or if you want to provide value to your community members, whatever your use case is for the token, it comes with baggage, right? Like, no matter how you want to spin it. So while you're in development of building out your MVP, having to maintain the community's expectations is such a challenge where I'm like, man, how do you balance the two? you know?
Yeah, no. First, on your project, I think that's something quite interesting, and I also think the way you are building your community, it's a very interesting segment of founders and kind of professionals building in the space. I really like it. I always think about because of my newsletter, like community building, like having a clear goal, who should be there, and I think that niche is very exciting. So in terms of the token, yeah, it's I had experience in the past, following plenty of projects through the years, following the NFT hype, following all these coins that launch. I knew what I was getting into. It was not like, oh, this surprised me. I clearly knew what was happening, to the point that I probably a month before I was not sure if I should launch a coin or not. I had very strong doubts. But then in the Clanker ecosystem that I also follow closely, I started to notice these projects, these apps launching a token, which were very nice, like very powerful apps with a clear concept, with people that I knew from the past, good founders with good intentions, and they have been able to connect the token to the use case of the app. So it's not like separate things. And I wrote an article about why we were launching the I token. So first is distribution. You immediately get a lot of attention, especially if it goes well. And in the case of Indexy, we started to get a lot of people coming to the app through the dexes, through all these interfaces, which was great. And that's our target user, right? Then you also think about bootstrapping, right? So I've been building this since February, and as a solo founder, I don't have any. I don't have any investments in the company, which now I control the full company, which is great, gives me a lot of freedom and flexibility. But the token, yeah, was a way to bootstrap. So it's at this stage, it could be similar to a pre-seed. Depending how well it goes, could be considered a seed round, right? So I think that if you know how to do it properly, if you feel safe, if you are secure on what you're doing, it's a good approach these days, right? Um, so with those things in mind, and then the third one, which is something that I'm working really hard, and there are a few ways to do this, to include the token into the app, right? So if you look at Checker analytics platform, they integrated it with a premium plan. If you hold X Checker, you have access to the premium features, right? So that's right there, makes a lot of sense for an analytics platform, right? You have QR, which use the QR token to drive attention to what they do, which is auctions/ads. Already, if you watch the ad, if you share the ad, you get tokens. Another way to improve the product. Um, and noise, which is microtransactions on Farcaster. They not only are using their tokens, they are also helping other projects distribute, create noise to their projects. So very smart. So when I saw that, I said, okay, if this makes a lot of sense. It's not just a token to speculate on the project. But now from here, it's important to manage expectations into this is an application token, this is an app, a product, and the token makes the app better, but it's not something that we want to pump, uh, inflate with fake hype. It's something that needs to be hand in hand, and it's all about, I believe, developing the app, showing progress, and communicating properly, right? Communicating the features, communicating the vision, not only looking at the charts and trying to send it higher.
Yeah, I mean, just to reiterate, the token should never be about. Again, you want the token to do well, but that's not the core like idea of what you're building around. It's actually the opposite. The token should be providing value to the product, not the
Right.
product serving the coin. And I think
Exactly.
that it's really important for people that are here, that are in Web3, to understand that if you really support founders that are building something special, then if they have a token that's affiliated with it, you don't worry about the price action on it. If you want to be an investor, it's like you said at the beginning of this conversation, who are the ones that win? They're the ones that have long-term value, like that hold
Yeah.
for long-term value and
Yeah.
take the long-term bet. And I think it's so difficult to accomplish that in Web3 because another point made, the attention span of people is very short. You
Yeah.
know, like if you want to capture the attention, you have to have patience too, though, as an end user. And I think like you're not going to, if you really want to make at this stage, it's so difficult because people were able to buy Bitcoin, buy Ethereum, buy Solana at stages that were very early on. Those people still held, right?
Yeah.
Think about the people that are now multi millionaires from Bitcoin. Yeah, well, they also held it through the serious highs and lows of things,
Right.
and that's what allowed them to be rewarded is because of that, conviction. And it's the
Exactly.
same. You have to have the same mindset for trusting these founders,
Yeah.
and especially another point that we made earlier is like, if you're willing to dox yourself, if you're willing to come on a podcast and talk about the vision, the plan, put yourself out there in every way possible, that's instilling trust. If I'm listening to that, if I'm hearing that, and I like the business model, I like what you're serving, why not buy, hold it, set and forget? Don't
Yeah.
put money in that you can't afford. Not financial
Definitely.
advice, do your own research and all of that good stuff, but like I think the ultimate goal at this stage of Web3 is like we're not buying tokens anymore. We're not buying like infrastructure anymore. We're now buying into founders, right? Like
Yeah.
I believe if I'm going to go purchase index the I token, I'm doing it not because of the token speculation and going up. I can't. It's what another point that we're making. It's very difficult to trade today.
Yeah.
You cannot. There's too much volatility and speculation. If I'm buying a token, it's because I'm buying and believing in the founder,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? And I will hold that till it goes to the millions, or I will hold it till it's dust and it goes to nothing. And I think that's the type of conviction you should have today if you're purchasing these tokens that are affiliated with projects. Buy it because
Yes.
you believe in the founder.
Definitely. And I mean, there are a couple of things as well. So ideally, the I token, and that's, for example, right now, Indexit tracks, I think, over 1,000 coins. And I created an index, which some projects that I really like and use, which is the market intelligence index, right? So Kaito is there, Checker that I just mentioned is there, that radar, which is an old platform that I used a lot in the past. So indexing wasn't there, right? And why it just made the product more complete. Now in I is in that index, and now I is part of the blockchain world, right? And people can see what's happening with I, right, in terms of the markets. And also the goal as well is to make the product experience better. So if you really love the product and you are using it every day, I should make, if you hold I, or if you spend I on indexing, it should give you something that you really want. And that's, I think, what we need to craft. And we have already a couple of things in progress there. But I think that's the end goal, right? That you can use I, and that's the full intention on indexing somehow. And there are many ways already, like referral programs, premium analytics, right? It's just a matter of prioritizing and
Making it make
developing.
sense. You have to
Exactly.
make it make sense. And no, I think look, if you can provide utility with your native token,
Hmm.
then you've accomplished something really special. That's a difficult task, especially when you have transparently, like, if I can use Ethereum, if I can use Solana network, like if I can use like their native token to pay for certain things, then like why would I want to go swap and then go to all of these derivatives just to get something done? But I'm not saying that it isn't possible. I'm saying if you're able to accomplish that and get sticky with your end users,
That's the best
that's when you
yeah, the
make
best
a
approach.
massively successful
Yeah.
token, which would then raise everything up. So, no, I mean, I encourage people to try and create a token that can provide real utility.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Go ahead.
Yeah, just another thought there. When I wrote the article, when we launched the Circle IPO was, I think, was happened last a week before that. I've been using USDC for a long time, and there were this IPO did really well, and they were oversubscribed. So it seems that many investors wanted to get in and couldn't in the IPO. They had to buy later. So I was wondering why people that have been using USDC for 1 or 2 years, businesses, traders, investors, how come they couldn't get access to this IPO? They are the real users of the product. It was impossible, right? This is how the system works, the traditional finance system. So tokenized apps, tokenized products kind of is an improvement over that model. And we don't know how this will look like a few years from now, but definitely it's more open, right? It's a way, and everybody can already view if they like a product, they like an app that's tokenized, they could be part of it. Whilst in the traditional system, it's really really complicated, right?
No, and this is something that, again, this is my background, and not that I am like some wizard master expert, but just looking at it from a high level, it's one of the detriments of our traditional system that has been antiquated and motivated people to create something like Web3, to
Yeah,
actually just literally create Web3, is because you're seeing these centralized places that are becoming like, they're the cabal. They are the ones that are gatekeeping. They're the ones letting wealth come in. They're the ones that are handpicking who can and cannot generate wealth. And then you have something like blockchain technology come out that decentralizes, where people like you and I, if we come up with the right idea, if we have the right network of community within our own
yeah,
ecosystem, we can generate our own wealth and wealth for others. That
yeah,
is like, also, that's the privacy element, where they love to say the regulations that are around, to your point about the Circle IPO and like how it's oversubscribed, people can't get in. That's very successful, and like kudos and
yeah.
major success to Circle. There's nothing wrong with that. They're playing the game, they're doing it right. But I
Mhm.
think also, like, for if you're looking at, let's rein it back, because an IPO, there are so many levels that you need to get to become a
Yeah,
company that's like going through an IPO. But if you're a founder like yourself who's bootstrapping, right, prior to Web3, prior to being able to launch your own token, you, one, wouldn't have the ability to launch an app, right,
yeah,
without any sort of funding. There was a point in time where you had to create a pitch deck, find friends and family. They don't even call it angel rounds and friends and family rounds. Are you literally going with,
yeah,
the tip jar being like, can you please help me out, and
yes,
raising $100 here, $100
yeah,
there? And like, you don't even know how to formulate a cap table. You don't even know how to put the term sheets together to give a proper exchange of equity for the cash they're giving you. So like, that is like the system that you had to accomplish. Who does that benefit? It's the people that already know wealth, that already know money. And I'm not trying to slight anyone. I'm just telling you like objectively how I see it. So when you
yeah,
go as a founder, you're already defeated. You're already
yeah.
like, I don't know how to do this, so I'm done, and I won't even start that project. So today, like yourself, with, I don't, are you a first time founder?
I mean, I built a blind gallery in an academy. I got so I will say this is my second time founder, but I didn't get
Of a
investment.
scalable, but I'm saying, and not saying that
Yeah,
blind gallery isn't scalable, but like, this is something that could be an
no, of a,
institutional
yeah,
type of
not
thing.
at this, not with this potential, right?
Right.
Yeah,
And so my point though is like, if I think about this, if you are a seed round type company, right? You bootstrapped, you somehow got through the trenches of going to family and friends and convincing them to give you $30,000 to
yeah,
$50,000 to go off and start your own company, right? That in itself is such a challenge. So you get through that hump, and now you're looking at a pre-seed type of investment where you're going to need a family office, a venture capital firm, a high net worth individual that can stroke a significant size check. How do you get in front of them if you don't have the network? Let's just say
yeah.
you're a savage developer or builder and you don't have that network. You're then done.
No,
There's too
it's
many walls that deter you from finding success, and that success is completely predicated on your ability to get capital.
yeah,
So if you're in that stage of your career 5-10 years ago, you're done. But
yeah,
today, we endless opportunities. The old system, the legacy finance, does not like Web3.
Yeah.
And so that, like, again, that's where the rabbit hole and like the tinfoil hat comes out. Because now I'm like, why is Bitcoin doing so well? Why are institutions buying it up? And then, like, war in Iraq, or excuse me, in Iran
Yeah.
with Israel, you see all of the bombs, like, you see all of this conflict, and all of Web3 crashes yesterday. If you remember yesterday and the day before, everyone was like, World War III, we're doomed. Who's buying up the dip? It's
Yeah.
all institutions, because
Yeah.
they're trying to obtain control of what we are building here. And that's
Definitely.
scary to me. And I know I sound like a psychopath when I say that, but that's just how I look at it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, and no, I agree. And you know, my dad, when I've been trying to teach my dad, he's in technology and he understands the concepts, but I think 3 4 years ago he was still very skeptical, and now he actually bought Coinbase stock like a year ago. He now reads a lot and he understands that there is something special happening here. So he was sending me the news about Santander, which is you know, Banco Santander. I'm based in
Huge
Spain.
bank. Yep.
Yeah, and Santander is it's the biggest bank here. They are hiring like crazy engineers and people with experience in DeFi, and they are also, you know, with their stable products and all this stuff. It's great, but at the same time, what you said, these institutions are kind of under the table. They are positioning themselves in the whole space because they understand how critical it is. And it's exciting, but at the same time, it's a little bit, you know, worrisome, right? Of yeah, what we are doing here and how this will look like a couple of years from now.
Mass adoption is a very exciting thing, but it comes at a cost. And I think, how do you implement guardrails currently that protect retail, that protect the,
Yeah,
like, the unheard voice? How do you protect them prior to this wave of mass institutions and like big money coming in? I mean, it's already happening, but it's like, how do we as a ecosystem and community, prepare ourselves to interact with that? Because my fear of this is that when they flood in, they're going to bring the old system with them that got us here in the first place.
yeah,
Right. And you're seeing it as well. Like, even like going into the trenches of, like, Solana. Like, you see these like cabals and these like KOLs, and they all conspire together, and then they are the ones gaming the system. No different than Ken Griffin. It's just on a smaller scale.
yeah,
Right.
yeah, yeah,
So that's where I'm like, you can't take the greed out of an individual. You can't take the corruption, but like, how can you implement systems that
yeah.
allow us to make it a more fair and equitable opportunity to find success?
Yes. No, definitely, definitely. And I think things are getting much better, but yeah, there are still, you know, many issues. But yeah, I think if you position yourself, if you understand like the right communities, the right places to look at, the right conversations, you eventually, you know, can filter this noise, whichever side you are in, as an investor, as a builder, as an spectator, as somebody that wants to work in Web3. I think if you take time to read and research, you eventually find the right communities, the right podcasts like these, the right sources of information, and then you are in the right track. I think the critical part is for beginners, right? A couple of months, how they get onboarded in the space and their expectations. That's what worries me more. Than the long term viability of people that are already, you know, in the space.
So what are some of the places that you would recommend? I mean, you've got your newsletter, you've got Indexy now. Like, I would assume, and correct me if I'm wrong, you're a great, I think that has to be a part of the mindset of onboarding new people to the space. It's
Hmm.
like what you're creating with your content, with your app, etc.
Yeah, I mean, I think that Farcaster is a great place because it's still. I mean, even if it already has, even if they say there are only 37 people there, you know, there is already a good community, but it feels like it's still, you know, I haven't seen scams happening on Farcaster. DMs are pretty clean if you think about it. Like, you reach out through Farcaster, and I immediately, you know, answer because I feel safe on Farcaster. X, it's completely opposite, right? My DMs, like I don't open the requested. It's very sporadically. I think creators like what you're doing with this podcast, that are individuals that are sharing their experience, that's a great place to good source. You need to curate those creators. And also, I mean, anybody that's telling you like this is the next X 100, or we're gonna get $1 million here and there, that just that doesn't make, nobody knows that kind of thing. You need to go deeper. And just people building products, I think those are also like, you see them coding, you see them getting feedback, you see them every day building something, whatever it is. It's also a good source. And Substack and Paragraph, I think there are a couple of newsletters, also pods.media. They have very high quality podcasts. And now again, crypto is so there are so many segments, so many chains, that there are multiple, and it's more about curating what you like about crypto, which areas you like the most. I was very into digital art. I'm still there, so there are many, not many, but a couple publications that are really good. But that's the case for DeFi, that's the case for social, that's the case for builders. So it's about taking the time, researching and cleaning your timeline, and curating it. But there is definitely a lot of high quality stuff.
Absolutely. No, I agree. And I think, you know, what you're saying about Farcaster, I couldn't agree with more. I'm new to Farcaster, and the amount that I have learned, I work full time in Web3. Like I
Mm,
have a job for a node provider where I'm
mm,
seeing so much stuff, learning a lot on the back end. But then when I came onto Farcaster, the amount I've learned in 2 months, I don't think people can get in like 2 years.
yeah,
You know what I mean? From the outside. So just from the amount of builders, what they're building, how they're building it, and it's endless. And also, not to mention, like, to be able to meet people like you're not going to get that on X. And so for people that are trying to explore Web3 on crypto Twitter, you're going to get a lot of information. Let's not completely derail, like,
yeah,
X from being a good source, but
yeah,
the interaction, the engagement, the network that you're able to build on Farcaster
yeah.
is so much better. It's significantly better.
Yeah, exactly. It's higher quality, and yeah, you have a higher chance of really connecting on Farcaster than just being a follower, or yeah, follower on X, right? In Farcaster, yes, you can connect to people, you can drive conversations, and it's for me has been great. It has been fantastic to not only for Indexy, because to be honest, the first 1,000 users came from Forecaster, from the network, but also to connect with many people, to get feedback, to learn, as you said, and the channels, and different topics, even indexes. I learned a lot about indexes through the data channels on Forecaster. So it's a great place to get started, definitely. Yeah.
Absolutely. So, Kaloh, we are just at an hour. Um, if there's anything that you want to plug, is there any launches, different updates that you're going to have? Anything you want to plug in, feel free.
Yeah, no, it's been great. The time it passed so fast. This is great. So I think it's important for people that are following in Indexy. I think I pay a lot of I use a lot of my time to share updates. The best place is through my social media, Farcaster and X, but also the Indexy newsletter. I'm writing monthly reports, and that's where you can understand the product growth in terms of metrics. I'm trying to build these fully, I mean, as transparent as I can. So the newsletter is a great place to look at the metrics if you are into that. If you are more into what's next, I share daily what I'm working on, what I can reveal I'm working on, and the new features every 2-3 days. I've been shipping since February, which I'm very excited about that. So follow me on my socials. And for longer term, because there are some very exciting stuff that we're working on, but those need a bit of time, right, to be presented properly. There are many things that need to be tested, so those will come at the right time. But yeah, definitely check the newsletter, check my socials and Indexy socials. And for more personal stuff, just check my newsletter where I write a bit more than indexes and markets. I also share about technology and digital art. So if you want to get some info on digital art, Kaloh's newsletter is a good place to be.
Awesome. I will send me those links. I'll put them all in the post when we launch this. But Kaloh, it was a pleasure. If you could stay for 5 seconds
Yeah.
after, I'm gonna hit stop. But thank you so much for joining. This was an awesome conversation.
Thank you, Jeff. It was great, and yeah, we'd love to do this in the future. It
Of
was
course, we'll
amazing.
have you on. We'll have you on ASAP as soon as you have some updates that you want to share. Let's get you back on.
Awesome. Thank you.
Cool.
Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you. Bye.